All right, we have our first edition here of, well, Hoppy Hour Flight Edition. And what we're going to do here, because everyone knows now, hopefully you know by now, Matt Boldy, big boy money, got the bag, 7x7, $49 million for, what is he, 21, 22?
Cha-ching.
We'll talk about that a little bit more in the Wild segment. But what we're going to do here is go over 4 beers that aren't necessarily the exact same style, but at least similar, category, flavor palette. Like, we're not going to be mixing sours and IPAs and stouts, right? We're going to go through all 4, and with each one, we're going to tell you what the beer is. We're going to give you a little bit of a review and kind of talk through the flavor palette. But also with each beer, we're going to talk about one player that has been impacted by this Matt Boldy extension being done. So, Isha, to you.
Let's
lead
get
it
into
off.
Let's get into it. We're going to start with, well, I guess the lighter one of the spread right now. Shout out to our friends at Waconia Brewing. Jeremy actually brought us this, another care package from our friends at Waconia Brewing. He also, well, I guess I'll get into that in a second. This is an Express Yourself, which, great name. Big pun guys over here. Coffee Chocolate Golden Ale. 5.8% IBU 22. Shout out Waconia Brewing, and then a crowler, no less. And he also brought me some chocolate-covered coffee beans to go with it, but those were gone the second he left my house.
Of course they were.
Shout out Waconia. Thank you, Jeremy. Excited to start this one. And one quick note before we take our sip here. As soon as you crack the can, I was setting up the mics and cameras, and I was like, whoa, I smell the coffee. So
yeah,
cheers, man.
Smacks
Let's go.
the nose.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
It's good we started with this one.
Yes, I mean, especially looking at the just the color and for some, the consistency even. This is definitely the one we needed to lead with. Super, mellow, light, nothing crazy. I smell a lot more coffee than I taste, but that's not a bad thing. 'Cause
No.
there's a lot of people that, get smacked with the coffee flavor and, get totally turned off by it. This is such a, neutral beer for me. This could be a refreshing beer on a hot day. This could be one that I'm sipping while I watch a hockey game. This could be
excellent.
the one that I'm just enjoying in the winter. There's not a bad situation for it. It's just super simple. Feels like I'm not doing it justice, right? 'Cause that sounds bad. Balanced. That's a great word for it. I don't know. I could, by the end of this, I might dummy the whole crowler. So
Wow. Thank you, Waconia.
Jeremy, shout out to all of you. First player here that we need to get into while we continue sipping on this. One that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, being Sam Steele. Guy came in after being released from the Anaheim Ducks and has kind of, ever since he stepped in on that first line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello, hasn't looked back. They haven't had a reason to pull him out. Even with a healthy Hartman, they're keeping Steele up there. Man, this is just a guy that I see with how young he is, with where he sits, and looking at kind of the future and seeing the pipeline of the team, reading the tea leaves. A lot of people think there's a chance he stays. I personally don't think there's a shot in hell. I think that he's going to be able to take this body of work and not necessarily say, hey, look at this is how good I am, but hey, stick me with skilled players. I'm not going to fuck shit up. He's going to get enough money. He's going to get security, and he's going to find somewhere that he can really carve out a role for himself. He doesn't know if Marco Rossi's going to chase him down. He doesn't know if Bill Guerin's going to go and make a big boy move and bring in another center. There's others that are coming in the pipeline too. We heard Z wax poetic last week on Judd's Buds about how Marat Huznadinov is totally becoming that type of player that could ascend from being that middle 6 guy that we expected to actually being, a top 6 guy. So to me, I'm leaning that there's no way that Sam Steele comes back because I don't think he's going to want to take the pay cut when there's not much of a security for him here. Right. But that's my personal stance on it. Where do you see Sam Steele?
I tend to agree with you. I mean, especially with the Kuznetsov situation in that, he might even be a better center than Rossi at the end of the day. The way that people are talking about his development now.
Or the way that people are shitting on Rossi.
I mean, people are split on Rossi. But again, shout out Waconia Brewing.
Hey.
Didn't even plan that.
What is up? Lovely. Well, let's move on to the next one then, as I just poured a little bit more of that. Oops.
It's so good.
All right, next up, another friend of ours. Been a while since we had them jump on the show. I might have to arrange something again. Modest Brewing Company. Isha, pop that one up to your camera. We have the Honeycomb Catacomb. It is a honey double porter. Incredible can art on this one, too. This is one that anyone listening might have heard me drink a few times in past episodes. Obviously, Isha was in Canada at the time, didn't have a chance to enjoy it, so I'm really excited to see what his opinion is on this one. So here we go. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Wow. Like, it's like you grabbing a honeycomb and just taking a bite out of it.
Honeycomb
Wow.
to a T.
To a T. To a T. And very cool can art, like you mentioned.
And like a clever name, too. Honeycomb Catacomb. I like plays on words like that. Kind of a similar way I'd describe it to the first one, but
Sweeter, for sure.
it has more sweetness. It's got the honey, but it's not heavy. Like,
No,
this
no,
is
no.
not one that you, like, drink and, like, you need to take a break because it's a meal. Like, this is a really thin beer compared to what you'd expect.
Despite
looks.
the profile that you see here, it actually is a lot clearer for a darker beer than, as we can see with the pour here, than you would expect just seeing it like in the glass. So there you go. Yeah, I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed with this one.
This one is weirdly like one of the only beers where I let my mom try one. I brought it over. I don't know if it was for a holiday or what the hell it was for. She's like, where did you buy this? So obviously that speaks very highly to, I mean, we all know Modest Brewing. Like Waconia, there's not many misses. So I don't know. There's not much more I can say. I'm going to keep on sipping on mine while Isha takes over.
Yeah, we'll get into the next player here, and that is Jordan Greenway. Now, let's rewind a little bit. Back when Greenway and Cunnin were the two young guns joining the Wild, roster was kind of like they don't have enough room to keep both of them, and both of them were progressing well, maybe not as quickly as everyone expected or wanted, but it put the Wild in a situation where they had to choose one. They ended up going with Greenway, and honestly, it was the right decision because the next season, the instant chemistry with Joel Eriksson Ek, with Marcus Foligno, the Jeek line was formed, and last year had his best season. Yeah, just over 30 points. He didn't like break the bank in points. However, his contribution to that line and how that line's contribution to the team was one of the biggest reasons, outside of Kaprizov, obviously, that the team was able to have such a successful season and, make the playoffs, and actually gave us a lot of confidence that they were going to do well in the playoffs, which never seems to be the case at the end of the day. Shout out Wilds or Minnesota sports. Rest in peace, Vikings. But this season, and I'm not dogging on him when I'm picking him here, everybody. He's faced injuries this year, and that is the reason is, obviously his playing time is down, his game appearances is down, and his production is down. I mean, when you're nursing that many injuries, when you're so inconsistent in and out of the lineup, you're just not going to have the success. The line's not going to have the chemistry that they did, and ultimately, it's not his fault that he's been, struggling with injuries. However, the team's still going to have to pay him because they know what he can bring when he's injured or when he's injury free. If they want to keep him around, he's going to want a little bit more than $3 million. It's tough to fit that for a third liner moving forward. So,
but he's got what, 2 more years making that?
No, of course, but still, like
it does matter.
If they want to extend him, if they want him to be part of that winning core that they're hoping to see in a couple of years. 2-3 years, I don't think he fits under that umbrella, and there's probably going to be guys within the organization who can fill in his role. Let's be perfectly honest. It's not like he's a unicorn out there. He's just a very good third liner. So Jordan Greenway, that's the player who I think is going to be also affected by this Boldy signing.
Yeah, and I'm not even trying to defend him and say that he will be around. I just do think that, like, him wanting more, at that point, the cap opens up like crazy because
But is it worth it?
Lose the bouts. Right. But guess what? You got 2 more years to evaluate that. Where I stand, though, everyone basically looked and said, wow, because of how the Eck line kind of faltered when he was hurt earlier this year. That was everyone's proof. Like, oh my gosh, Greenway does actually have an impact. And I was very much of that belief. He's been back. It hasn't been that much different. They've had good games, right? But I'd argue that the fourth line has been more of a catalyst for a lot of things this year than they have. Now, last couple of weeks, not the case. Last couple of weeks, fourth line's been questionable. But there was a good stretch there where that line was carrying things. And I do think that the decision on Greenway is going to have kind of an inverse relationship with Brandon Duhaime. I've been on record a bunch, and this is an honorable mention of sorts, because I do think it's kind of a 1-for-1. I don't think you're keeping both guys.
Yeah.
I think both fit a similar profile. I think Guerin has proven now with what he's done last year and this year, bringing in the psychopath last year, right?
Oh,
Laurier.
yes.
Bringing in Reeves now, he needs that physical electric presence on his fourth line. And right now, we're pretty comfortable with Dewar and Shaw being the other two that ride with that. So I see Duhaime or Greenway being the guy that's that third piece of the Eck line. I wonder which one you can get more value for, because I think Duhaime has played better of late. I think Greenway has more promise when you just see how big he is, how he can skate.
And a resume.
And yes, a resume. He's got a pretty palatable $3 million deal for the next 2 years. I think he fetches you more value, but if you decide, no, we are sticking with this guy, even with some of the recent disciplinary things on top of his injury issues, then Duhaime is a guy that I think you can get an okay return for. Throwing him to the bottom 6 of a contender, like that is the kind of guy that a lot of teams are going to want. And it's one of those like rental plus situations, right? He is a rental, but he's an RFA, and you can kind of feel out and figure out if he is the right guy. So I think one of those two is undoubtedly gone. I don't know if that happens by the trade deadline or if it happens this summer, but I think with this and having to tighten up the money, Greenway might be the better option because he fetches more of a return with the upside and you're skimming more money off. But we'll see where that goes.
Sorry, Z.
I love Duhaime. It makes me sad. Florida man. Florida man.
By the time I get Z's jersey, it's going to be gone.
Or are you still trying to get that for him?
Anyways.
All right. What's up?
All right. The next one we have here, Monkey Bar Imperial Pastry Stout from Prize Brewing with banana, chocolate, peanut butter, and marshmallow, folks. Cool can as well.
Now, Prize is the only one on the flight today that is, we'll say, a future friend of the podcast.
Yeah, I haven't...
Big fan of what they do in general, but also they have the coolest, and this isn't even up for discussion, the coolest brewery game in feather bowling. Incredible, electric game, basically a cooler version of bocce ball, if you will.
Okay, I was going to ask, what the hell is that?
You get this big wooden puck, like we're talking like yay size, give or take, and you get 4 or 5 each. You roll it down, and it's this like semi-half pipe of sorts of fake like grass, turf, whatever. And at the end, I'd say a foot or two before a fall off, there's this little feather that just sticks up out of the ground, and it serves kind of as the white ball that you would use in lawn bowling / bocce ball. And you're rolling the pucks and trying to score more points by, kind of same scoring methodology as curling, Isha. Whoever has the most pucks that are the closest gets that many points.
Okay, cool. That sounds fun.
Very fun. And like really good beer across the board. Really cool. Like they have a lot of outdoor events. They're like right along the river, just like outside of what I would call North Loop, right? Like they probably say they're in North Loop, and that's not wrong, but like they're not in the city part of it. They're kind of off the beaten path, which I like personally.
You can find parking.
And this is your first Prize beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna try in just a sec, but I just noticed that this is actually a limited release.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like we're basically like we're we're royalty right now. Contains lactose. I love it says roll first, then open. And we actually did roll it on the table, so that's good as we were trying to get some B-roll.
It's funny because I didn't see that or do it intentionally, but that just happened.
It's sweet and malty, says the flavor profile. I just love this whole graphic on the can here, and I'll put it big.
And they do that quite a bit as well. For a lot of their cartographer series, that's the one that obviously Joey gets super giddy about because his line of work. But they have really good ones.
Fucking land papers, Jim.
Land papers.
11%, 20 IBU. Cheers, man.
Here we go.
Oh my god, dude. I smelt the peanut butter before it hit my lips, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna love this one. Wow. Wow. Tim, if you're watching, this is your new favorite beer, buddy. Oh my goodness.
Straight up, and this is my best way of staying neutral because I truly mean this. If I'm having a half pint of a beer, this beer is probably beating all the other beers on this table.
I don't know if I could drink a full one.
A full one would be a chore. Rich, sweet.
It has you taste banana, you taste chocolate, you taste peanut butter, and you taste marshmallow.
You taste all of it. For me, on the nose, like you said, smacks you with peanut butter, which just makes me happy. I swoon.
It's like they...
I don't want to drink it all because I just want to sit here and smell it.
It's like they coated the rim with Skippies.
There we go. But... you get a little bit of each, and it's kind of like a lot of times you can tell what flavor is gonna hit when you have a couple sips of the same beer. This one, it's like a new adventure each time. Weirdly enough, sometimes I'm totally getting the peanut butter. Sometimes it's marshmallow. Sometimes banana, and it's I don't really know. So each sip is a different twist and turn.
It kind of reminds me of a Nutella, peanut butter, and banana sandwich. That's kind of with the fluffy Wonder Bread.
I've never done all of those before, but what we got to add is the fluff, the marshmallow spread.
Yeah.
But no, I'm obsessed with the peanut butter banana sandwich.
That is damn good.
Which is why, Jeremy, bring it back. Waconia, we need the Chunka peanut butter love. That is my favorite beer that you've ever done. Bring it back for me, please. I beg of you, so that we can bring it on here and talk about it again. Lovely. Now, going along with this, what is clearly going to be Tim's favorite beer, per Isha. No one knows who Tim is, but that's not important, because guess what? We are going to talk about the favorite son of our fearless leader, Dean Evison. That's right. We're talking about Freddie Evison. I'm sorry, Goudreau. Freddie Goudreau.
He is his son, though.
I'm going to keep calling him Freddie Evison until people get pissed. How does this Boldy extension impact him? Very little. It does impact his potential, high-end earning. I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think the team wants him to leave. I'm going to be kind of bummed if he makes anything higher than 1.5-ish. I see him, though, getting a very similar deal to a Ryan Hartman, right? Take a team-friendly deal because you like the situation here. We like having you here. You're getting minutes. You're going to be deployed properly. And it's he'll get term, right? I could see Freddie Goudreau getting a 4-year deal somewhere between 1.5 and 1.8. And it works great because he is so trusted by the coaching staff. He's also very trusted by Bill Guerin. And for me, he is such a versatile jackknife player. I loved him in Pittsburgh. He was a great bottom six forward. He's come over to Minnesota and he's flourished as a, second line center. We'll say that. I don't want to say top six, but he's played in more of a real role. He did great. It's not that he drives a line. It's that you throw him between Boldy and Fiala and nothing is amiss.
He's not an anchor.
He fits in perfectly and just gels and does what he needs to do. I think over time it's going to evolve where he's going to be a middle six guy for another year, maybe 2 if he's lucky. But I think he coasts out absolutely driving a fourth line for Minnesota when they're actually in their contention window. And that's exactly what you want. That's what I thought he could be for Pittsburgh. I was sad when he left, but it was also kind of hey, at least he's in Minnesota,
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think it impacts him coming back. I think it means he'll take a little bit more of a haircut than maybe he potentially would have, but I don't see any way that he's not coming back here. It would shock me. That would be, besides like Kaprizov, some of the obvious ones, right? Like Freddie leaving. Out of the guys that need a contract, he would shock me the most to be gone.
The only way I could see him leave is if a team threw, the bank at him and was like, here's 3.5 mil. And he's like, okay, see ya.
But again, does he want to uproot and do that? And like,
does he want the money or does he want the minutes?
If a team's going to give him 3, 5, 4, like, I'm sorry, that team's making a horrible mistake. But yes, I will not begrudge him for doing that. I don't think the team could possibly do that. I don't think a team's going to offer him that much. But if they do, then yeah, you're right.
I don't think so either. And please comment on this video if you think he's going to get a contract higher than $1.5 million, maybe even.
I said 1.5 to 1.8.
Okay. More than 2 million.
If it's above 2, I'm going to be pretty disappointed because that means the guy we're talking about next is pretty fucked.
Oh, no. The Canucks are going to sign Gujo for $4 million.
That would be so fitting.
Fuck you, Patrick Alvey. I mean, Jim Rutherford.
Oh, man. Also, first off, do you finally admit that Jim Rutherford is the one that's running things?
That's for later in the podcast.
I just need you to say yes or no.
No comment.
No, yes or no. We can delay.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Last beer here, and of course, last player. We've already had this one on the show, folks, but fitting in with all of these, had one more can left from our gracious new partners at Loose Line Brewing. You should throw the shit up there. Come on.
Boom, boom.
We have the Black Friday Coffee, Vanilla, Cacao, Imperial Stout, 9.5% ABV. Of course, Isha likes doing the full spread of the can. Over here we have Get Loose, because that's just fun. Who doesn't want it? But then we have the descriptions. We've got the hops, we've got the malt, the yeast, most importantly the flavor, which we already hit on. But the key word there that's going to make Isha and Scott happy every time. Isha, what? You didn't even see the can. What is the word that makes us happy a lot of times with the darker beers? Uh-oh, he's panicking.
I'm panicking.
Think Dangerous Man peanut butter porter. That's okay. I'm not going to break your brain. Roasty. Roasty, people. Had it before, but again, need to have it now in comparison to its peers. Here we go. Wow. That is just so different.
I was just gonna say it's so different from the rest of our spread because it's not sweet per se.
It's rich, not sweet, and a lot of people don't have a good feel for separating the two. For me, when we compare it to the other Imperial Stouts, I think that's the most fair way to judge these. Way sweeter on the first one with Prize, and again, it's got every flavor adjunct that Isha and I care about.
It has so many sweet flavors.
We loved it. We love that. But this one is more of an Imperial Stout to me. This is a traditional Imperial Stout where it's richer. It's, I think, syrupy is the way to put it. Not necessarily in consistency. Now, it is thicker, but it's not like you're drinking syrup, folks. We're not doing the Eric Stolhansky. We're not going full on Super Troopers, which, Isha, that's probably going to have to be a punishment for you at some point.
Jeremy's waiting for that.
I've got a maple syrup jug, like a barrel-aged maple syrup from Drecker. That might have to be one of your punishments when you lose something coming up.
Look, that would be an honor, not a punishment. The only punishment would be if it's... What do they call Aunt Jemima?
I gotta imagine it's pretty heavy on the tummy though.
I mean, I'm not gonna feel good after, but and what do they call Aunt Jemima now? Because she got canceled, right?
Everyone got canceled. I can't. If you want me to keep track of everyone that's canceled,
Uncle Ben's that's Rice.
I think shorter list is going to be who's not canceled. But no. This one to me though it's more of the rich syrupy flavor, and I like because a lot of Imperials it's just like, hey, this is an Imperial Stout, that's it, done and done. What do you think? Especially with the Russian Imperials. But This one has just that hint of coffee, hint of vanilla. It's right in that sweet spot for me where like I love coffee and vanilla as flavor adjuncts for darker beers. If you overdo it with either, it ruins it for me.
Yeah.
And this beer does not overdo it with either of them. Like I'm mad. I'm disappointed in us, Isha, because we started with such a fucking bomb ass flight. This is gonna be really hard to live up to.
I know. Like, I don't know.
We're going to be so disappointed.
This might be, and we're going to continue to do these on the YouTube channel, on the podcast and everything. And like, we started with the best ones, I think.
Drop comments. Let us know.
Yes.
Whatever social media you're watching this on, please tag the breweries that you want to see us promote in future flights. Even if they're specific beers, let us know. Or if you just have a beer style that you want to see us go through.
Hey,
great.
And that's extended to my friends in BC. I'm still expecting a care package from some of you.
Hey.
And we have some friends down in Louisiana as well who have a new beer sponsorship. Maybe you want us to talk about them as well. Hit us up. If you have any suggestions, comment on the video. All right.
Yeah, by the way, people out of state or out of country even, if you want to send us beers, we'll absolutely do this for you too. We're just not going to go out of our way to harvest said beers.
There you go. All right. Last player. And I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. It is Hoppy's son, not Dean's son, Calen Addison. And this one hurts me to my soul that we're even putting him on this list. But if anything, it's a compliment to him because he's been playing that good this season. Now, first,
That well.
First of all, I want to ask you, all bias aside, were you expecting this from him this season?
That's not a fair question because there's contingencies to that. I would say no because I didn't think the team would put him in the position he's been put in. If you told me that he would be playing regular minutes, only sat a couple of games, and that he was the power play one quarterback, yes, this is what I expected of him. So
that's just a thing, and Hoppy said it. He is a legitimate NHL...
Legitimate? You got the mush mouth from the monkey bar.
Yeah, dude.
Is it 11?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, fuck me.
We're at the end of the flight here, guys.
Keep going. I just had to.
Met. NHL power play quarterback, and they do not grow on trees. And look, yeah, 5-on-5 is his 5-on-5 defense anything spectacular? No, but it's not bad. He can hold his own, and he's only going to get better the more time that he marinates in the NHL. I'm scared that he's gonna command too much, and it's well deserved. That's the thing, and it's the Minnesota Wild. And we've talked about this on past podcasts. They have a great pipeline of defensive prospects, and unfortunately, the one who's popping right now before our eyes, and before all of us thought he was gonna pop and become that great player, that anchor for the power play, it's Calen Addison, and it's happening now, and they may not be, it just may be a little bit ahead of their timeline, and it's a good problem to have because the return that they can get for dealing him to another team could actually put this team a few steps forward for fans of him like us here on the Sota Pod. And that goes like up and down. Hell, even our boy Joel on the Brewery Travels podcast is a fan of him just because he listens to our podcast now. Overall.
Which is great.
But everyone on MNCAA, Z, Hoppy, and I mean, we're all fans of Calen Addison, and it would be sad to see him go, but I truly think if he's going to command too much money, and again, well-deserved, he's going to be the odd man out. And is it a good problem to have, like I said? Of course. It just sucks because we love the player.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people apologize to me. I have a lot of people, whenever Calen Addison does something brilliant, tag me in different posts or just message me directly.
It's so awesome.
It feels weird to be the like super fan for like a 21, 22-year-old when I'm 32. But I'm obsessed with him, man. Everything about him. I like his personality. I think that he crushes on the ice. My question for you, because you're worried about him leaving, right? What does Calen Addison get in a contract offer from another team?
4 years, $3.8 million.
Oh, that's okay. I'm way less worried then.
No, well, that's my honest answer right off the top of my
No,
head.
right. But so for me, and anyone that already heard me go through this on Judd's Buds this past week, first off, thank you so much for listening across all of our shows, the Sota Pod, Brewery Travels, MNCAA, and Judd's Buds for your prospect fix and just seeing what sicko shit Z's going to come up with in a given week. But honestly, Isha, I disagree entirely.
Okay.
And like I can take the rose-colored glasses off. Like I can be honest about who he is because I love him so dearly. I think that Kalen Addison is like weirdly situated in the perfect spot with the Minnesota Wild where they need each other equally. Because I think there are a lot of teams out there where Kalen Addison might want to go play, right? He is not slotted in as their quarterback for the first power play unit, right? And like you talked about, there's work to be done defensively. He's already gotten better. I do think he will continue to get better. But does a team want to overpay a player this young to come in and not be their power play quarterback and still be trusted to do whatever they're doing 5-on-5? He does do a lot to move play up the ice, so I get it. Like that is valuable. But usually if you're getting like a 4-5-6 defenseman, you're a lot more keen on them being strong defensively, right? So I think he is needing the Wild because he is firmly planted as the power play quarterback now and in the future because, yes, super deep prospect pool when we're talking about the strong blue line. Like, you can go on. Like, I don't even need to. Go listen to any Judd's Buds episode and he'll list them all off. But for me, no one has his skill set. No one has the vision, has what he can bring on the power play, or just the stretch passes this guy does, how he actually generates offense, moves the puck down the other way. It's different than any of the prospects that they currently have. That very much plays in his favor. Him not really having that opening in that gap to go somewhere else and literally slot in as the top power play guy, be on a competitive team, have the culture that we've established. Like Bill Guerin has put a good culture in place. People want to be here. He seems like he likes being in Minnesota. I think something in the range of $2 to $2.5 million for 2 years is perfect for both sides. It's the bridge he needs just to have, hey, he's got a little money and a security. 2 more years for him to prove who he is. And then guess what? We lose the Suter and Parisi buyouts. Then it drops down to like under $1 million each. And at that point, it's, what have you shown me? Then he's either getting big boy bucks to stay here, or he's going elsewhere, or he hasn't quite proven everything, but they still want him and he has to take a lower deal again. Either way, I think that this is a situation where the way I framed it with our boy Spoke Z, I think we've got roughly $4.5 million tops carved out for Kalen Addison and Philip Gustafsson. And Gustafsson, I could see getting anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5.
Well, I just
Kalen Addison 2.5, somewhere in there, and I think both of them are perfect 2-year bridge deal candidates. That's all I got to say. Go.
My only rebuttal, and look, well said. My only rebuttal is backup goaltenders tend to be a lot cheaper. The defenseman market, it's the Darnell Nurse effect, man. They tend to be paid higher, and that's just my concern. Now I know you're
not when they're 21, dude.
I know. I'm just saying it's
or 22, whatever.
It's a factor. It's a factor.
Well, it is.
It's a concern. But no, again, like I said,
I think Darnell Nurse provides a little bit more defensively than Kalen Addison does.
What about Seth Jones?
We're not going to talk about that guy.
Go Chicago!
Hey, which one's playing in the All-Star game? Despite all of my voting, I've never voted on the All-Star game before, and I fucking hammered it.
Wait, you didn't vote for fucking John Scott? Come on.
I didn't, because it was clear that he was going to get there without my help.
I made like 6 accounts, and I voted for John Scott, dude.
Nope. This year, let's see, the guys that I hammered were Phil Kessel, Kalen Addison, Isha, Earmuffs, Matt Murray, because I love him so dearly, and you can all just F right off. We learned this weekend watching the Gophers that Portillo is worse at knocking off the net than Matt Murray, and that their fans are like ridiculous. Like, oh, the Gophers haven't figured out their net. That was incredible, by the way. Gopher Twitter account versus Wolverine Twitter account. Wolverines were like, oh, I guess Minnesota still hasn't figured out these nets. And then the Gophers clap back. They're like, weird how the period that we were on that end, the net didn't go off once. I love when Twitter accounts go after each other like that for teams. But, I mean, that's a wrap in general, guys. Covered a lot of the ramifications of the Boldy contract, which in general, tune in the rest of the podcast, we're happy about. But tried 4 great beers from 4 great breweries, 3 great friends, 1 hopefully soon to be friend in prize. But thank you again, Waconia Brewing Company. Shout out. We got Modest Brewing doing their thing. We got Prize. Again, feather bowling is elite. And then lastly, our newest friends, Loose Line Brewing. Good across the board. We got 2 that are here for drinkability, right? Super high on our Brews and Bruins 37 chart. I would put both in the upper 20s, lower 30s category for drinkability. And the other 2 being Imperial Stouts, obviously not nearly as drinkable. I would say that if you're looking for the sugar bomb, you are going Monkey Bar. You're probably not drinking the whole can yourself, but if you do, please let us know. We're going to craft up a medal and send it to you.
And don't drive home if you drink it at the bar.
That too. And then Black Friday just being that perfect encapsulation of an Imperial Stout. Has the vanilla, has the coffee, but nothing too aggressive. Like, we've got the full spread here. We loved everything for different reasons. There is a situation, a time, and a place for all 4 beers. We just set the bar so goddamn high.
I was just going to say,
flights.
I don't know how we're going to top this. If you're viewing on YouTube, like and subscribe. Let us know what beers you want us to feature in the flight next. On the other side, let's get into some more hockey talk.